Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to chess.com and I'm making my way, if you've seen some of my other videos, making my way through the chess.com bots. Today I'm looking at Jonas, rated 1700, and ended up winning on the 49th move in this position, and I'll go through and show how I came here. And I make a lot of mistakes in this game, a lot of inaccuracies, and I just barely won. I'm very fortunate, actually. Jonas made some mistakes as well, and so we're going to take a look at what worked and what didn't, and how I was able to luckily get a win out of this. So computer said that I performed at a 74% and Jonas had a 66%. And so let's start this out and take a look here. Okay, and so some textbook openings here. Nothing new, nothing real creative yet. When you see this type of thing, you might want to get ready for Fanchetto. That's usually pretty common. Just remember to control the center and develop your pieces and get your pieces to work together. That's the main thing. A lot of these moves, to be honest with you, some of these moves I don't remember their names. I do recognize their patterns, however, and little things to watch out for. But don't get too caught up on that. Maybe just learn 2 or 3 moves and just some of their variations. But the main thing is, in this opening, control the center, develop your pieces. Okay, so let's keep this going because there are 49 moves, so I want to keep this going. I'll show you some mistakes that I make here. Computer says that was, a good move, but it wasn't the best. And one of my things I like to do is I love to mess up the pawn structure for my opponent. I think that's something that's overlooked, and it's something that I like to do. I probably hang on to that theory a little too much. Okay, so this total mistake on my part. I don't know why I'm so blind to this queen here. I totally should have took with that queen. Yeah, that would have been a lot better. Okay, so here I'm about to make another mistake, and that is that right there. I want to show you why this was a oh, the computer says inaccuracy, not really a mistake, but still it was definitely a blunder on my part. So this is what happened in the game, but look, if I would have attacked with my queen, the idea is that you want to go here with the queen for check. And I already own this and this square with the knight. So that would have been a very powerful move, definitely. So I totally missed that when I played the game. Just wanted to point that out. So totally missed it. Okay, let's keep this game going because there are a lot of things here. Okay, and now I got this knight into the game, trying to get my pieces developed. My opponent still has 2 minor pieces to develop. Mine are at least out there. They're not doing the greatest at the moment, but this knight protects that knight, and that knight protects that knight. So it's not bad, but it's not the greatest, but at least they're out there. Okay, and there I castled a little too early. Should have tried to kick this bishop out of here. But okay. Now this is another mistake. It's something I just didn't see in the game, and I go against some of the things that I preach in my videos, and that is, just taking this exchange gets me nowhere, and that's what I do. And think about this. Think about how much better it would have been if I would have went here. And now I take, and my rook is heading right down towards this queen and the king. Now, I realize the queen, is going to take back, but after this, the thing is, let me get these arrows out of the way here. Okay, so instead of just doing an exchange like this, I mean, that's okay, but most games only last 42 moves, and you're just wasting a move that gets you nowhere. This, first would have at least got this piece in the game, and I could own this file. I mean, if the queen wants to take it, that's fine. That would be great, but it's not going to happen at 1700. That's crazy. 1700's respectable ELO. That's too high of an ELO for such blunders to happen. But so this is the idea. Just try not to just do an exchange for nothing like I did here. You're just wasting a turn. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. I could have been the same thing, only this time this would have been here, and I'd own all this. So that's what you want to look for. That's the difference between just, well, when the bishop comes out, I'll take with my bishop. There you go. Well, let's try to be a little more creative with it and do something. I did not, so learn from my mistake there. Okay, let's keep this going. There's a lot more moves happening here. Okay. Yeah, this, I should have went there with the queen. Sorry, my mouse isn't working all of a sudden. At least it gives, the idea of to attack this. Obviously, this pawn has to get out of the way, but it would have been great to promote that pawn and then take this pawn and be attacking this. If the rook says, well, I don't want anything to do with that, I'm going to come all the way over here. Well, then I could do this. I could really take this queen and do a lot of things with it. Right now, my idea was, it's just kind of a weak idea, was you take, and I'll start, take with my pawn, I'll push the pawn up, have this structure here, and then this rook will own this file. So that was my idea. Definitely, the computer knows better than I do. Definitely would have been best just to go there like the computer suggested. Okay. So we did the queen exchange, and now I brought my pawn up to get a little bit of pawn structure in the center of the board, which I thought wasn't bad, but not the best thing I could have done. Okay, so let's keep this going. Let's see. I'm offering an exchange with the knights, and my opponent Jonas takes it. So okay, so there's that, and yeah, it had a chance to take my pawn, but it is barreling down on my king. It makes me a little nervous. So I got a little greedy there. In hindsight, what's the hurry? I should have left that there. I should have pushed this pawn up and protected that center of the board, get this going. I need to start thinking about getting this guy in the game. Hello, am I going to do anything with him? Let's get that rook out there, get the rooks connected, get the pieces working together. Even a queen by herself can't do much. She's going to need the aid of another piece. So keep that in mind. So, this is no good for me. I need to get this other rook into the game. So that's where my head needs to be at. I don't know why I got so greedy. Okay, so yeah, I was hoping for future ideas of taking this pawn out. I know it's protected at the moment, but the computer's saying what I should have done is, like I was just preaching, is get the rook here, and then I get these rooks lined up. Then I can pop up here, let's check, and then we can do this little exchange here, and at least it takes away some of the heat from my opponent coming down here and achieving, which happens later, and I'll tell you, if you get two rooks on that 7th rank, or from my perspective, it'd be the 2nd rank. They call that pigs on the 7th. And what happens is these rooks swing back and forth, and they take everything in their sight, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. And so that's a very powerful thing. That's what the computer is trying to do here. And I'm doing very little to nothing to prevent it from happening, and that's my problem right now. Okay, so I have to be mindful of everything I just said, pigs on the 7. Okay, so yeah, the computer probably should have went for it and got those pigs on the 7. I got a little lucky. Jonas did not do that. Here, okay, the computer saying you should protect this area because this is a weakness for me right now. I have to keep a close eye on this. My thinking was, if it takes though, with that rook, I'm going to come up here for check, and it's mate because I already own all this, and there's not an escape route. So that's why I did what I did. Okay, so yeah, and it's like, well, Peter says, well, Jonas says, well, I'll run up the rooks this way. Well, that doesn't lead anywhere because again, it's the same problem. If the rook comes here, take, and then this takes, and then I clean house, and I'm the only one with a rook left after all that. Okay, so I know that was a lot, but basically these rooks are lined up the wrong way. The computer needs to get them lined up like this is basically the idea. Pigs on the 7 or pigs on the 2 on the second. Okay, so let's keep this going. I want to try to keep this to where it's not such a longer video. Here, I finally got rid of that pawn that had just been bothering me. I had that stuck on my head. Totally should have went here because I own this back rank. So if this dropped down, yes, that is scary, I confess, but I can take with that rook. And it's just fine. And if this rook retakes, then I'll retake it. Same situation as before. So I should have been a little more gutsy and took that pawn like the computer suggested. I did not see that in the game, I confess, but I see it now reviewing the game and with the aid of the computer showing me. I see it. So anyway, okay, let's keep this going. So now I'm hoping to do an exchange here, and computer doesn't want anything to do with it. And yeah, I wanted these. I thought about coming here and attacking that, and then it also defends that pawn from just being gobbled up. But I really wanted these rooks lined up, and so that's what I went for, was lining up the rooks. Obviously, the computer knows better than I do. But now this idea is, you know, there's some dangers here. I have to be careful because what I was just saying, there are now pigs on the 7th. Okay, so this is dangerous. So I have to protect this because this is you know, that's mate. So I have to protect that area, and that's what I do. And so now that this area is protected, I have ideas of promoting this pawn. That's what I'm shooting for right now. And yeah, I could have take and then take, and I think the idea is then I can, after that exchange, I can push this up. And what I'm doing here basically is saving this pawn. Starting to push this pawn now is a little premature on my part, but I see, yeah, so I could have done the same thing. I just got in a hurry. I just rushed this thing. But I see that I can queen, and so totally what I go for. And here comes that exchange now. And now it's too late. The king is too far on the other side of the board. Something to be aware of towards the end game. I've seen it to where, you know, there's a pawn over here and a pawn over here, and they're about to promote, and you got a king in the middle, and it's like, well, one of these are going to promote, so you have to be careful of that. And I've had games where I've been up several pieces, and oh, you'd be surprised how well I can screw up an ending that I totally should have won, just because, oh, I allowed a pawn to promote. So that's pretty powerful. So here I want to cut off the king so that I can start getting rid of these pawns, and so that's what I do. And in my end games, if you've seen some of my other videos, I talk about building a box to where, well, you know, the king can only move around in here, and I try to make that box smaller and smaller. But first, I've got to get rid of these pawns because they do pose a threat. So, yeah, there, I should have just took this pawn, and so I'm going about a little sloppy, but it's getting there. Okay, so now the pawn can't move. Only thing the king can do, can dance around. Now, like I said before, the queen by herself can't do anything. I mean, not much anyway. I need to get this king in here to help out. So you can't, in the end game, you cannot just have your king just hide somewhere. Get your, it's scary, it's scary, it's scary. I get it. Get your king out there, use it. See how I cut that off? That king owns all these squares, and this queen owns that square. So I'm basically pushing this king into a very small box, and then I'm going to close the door, and it's going to be mate. So let's get rid of that. Now make sure you don't fall into a stalemate. Make sure your king has a square to go to. And so there we go, and there it is, and that's mate. So I hope that helps. The big takeaway from this is to use your pieces together and be mindful of those pawns. Be mindful of the pigs on the 7th rank, or the 2nd from my perspective. Very valuable and very dangerous, very deadly, very deadly. You know, those pawns can turn into queens. Be mindful of that. So I hope that helps with Jonas. I had a little trouble with him here. 1700, tough yellow, in my opinion. So yeah, had a little trouble with him, but ended up squeaking out another win. Thank God, got lucky some of that. But there it is. So I'm going to keep going through all the bots, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.